The decision of OPEC Plus to cut oil production, possibly setting the stage for higher fuel prices, risks changing U.S. Saudi relations for years to come.
Gasoline prices have been intertwined with U.S. politics for decades, right? It was true for Republican administrations, true for Democratic administrations.
The White House, concerned about the impact on November's midterm elections, where Democrats risk losing their House majority, is far from happy with the kingdom, which is also the de facto leader of OPEC.
It would be an understatement to say that these cuts haven't gone down too well in Washington, with President Biden even threatening of consequences for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
The decision to cut oil production by 2 million barrels per day is seen as difficult at best, this at a time when the U.S. and the wider West needs access to cheaper energy, with some accusing OPEC Plus of weaponizing oil at a time of crisis.
Now, it's clear that the White House essentially sees this move as siding with Putin in a way. Why do the Saudis not agree with that narrative?
I don't think the Saudis took this decision in order to favor Russia. They took this decision for their own interests. For a long time, it's had this tension between trying to preserve long-term oil demand and keep prices reasonable and moderate, but of course also enjoying high oil prices in the short term when they come along.
Production cuts have prompted calls in Washington to reduce arms sales to Saudi Arabia, withdrawing some U.S. troops stationed there and effectively banning OPEC itself.
I think the relationship was not good anyway, and the Saudis increasingly felt that the U.S. to some extent took them for granted, to some extent was not backing them up on security.
And while Saudi Arabia certainly benefits from high energy prices, it also wants to preserve long-term oil demand, much of which is expected to be driven by India and China in the future, and keeping prices stable with a global recession looming.
So you have a lot of gray clouds from a macroeconomic standpoint that certainly have been getting darker and darker over the last couple of months.
For now, the U.S. is moving to release 15,000 barrels from its strategic petroleum reserve, this in a bid to bring down oil prices, while the so-called NOPEC bill, if voted through, could open up OPEC Plus member countries to antitrust lawsuits in America. And while some U.S. military assets in the kingdom could, in theory, be redeployed in the future, such a move is unlikely to have any major impact.
They will always support Saudi Arabia against Iran, because Iran is clearly an adversary of the U.S. If oil supplies from the Gulf are seriously threatened by Iran right now, then that's really a disaster for U.S. policy.
And that's a reality that means the security aspect of the U.S.-Saudi alliance is likely to remain for years to come. Stenman, CGTN, Dubai.